This is Self-Talk Body Soul channel. My name is Maria, and here we talk all things spirituality, mental health, personal development, and growth mindset. A few weeks ago, I sent out a questionnaire to a lot of my contacts to ask what are the top 3 things that they struggle with most in their life. I've received a few responses, and some of them I want to share with today. Obviously, I won't say any names. I just noticed a few patterns in some of the responses, and that's the thing that I want to talk about today. Firstly, I want to share that it was quite interesting, an interesting experience, because I sent the questionnaire both to girls and boys, and guys seem to be a lot more practical. I just asked them what are they struggling with most. So I didn't say, what are you struggling with emotionally? I didn't specify anything. And, I said to give as many details as you want. And men definitely seem a lot more practical. It was quite funny to see that. But I noticed that guys generally said that they struggle with food and eating habits and money, and women mostly shared things to do with mental health and emotions and things like that. So that was really interesting. But certainly a lot of the things that were shared, both men and women, related to the topic of self-esteem. So I'm just going to read out some responses that I got, just to give you an idea of what exactly people said in response to the question what they struggle with that relate to the topic of self-esteem. Not speaking up when someone has hurt me, using humor to brush it off, or use passive aggression to assert my boundaries. Being affected by what people think of me has influenced decisions in my life, wasting hours and days obsessing and panicking over their thoughts. Feeling like a failure, having to have things done perfectly, so perfectionism clearly, and someone just plainly said self-esteem and self-image, positive self-image. All these problems, they all stem from that problem of self-image. Worrying too much about what other people think of you. Also not thinking too well of yourself as well. And so I was wondering about the kind of practical things that I could suggest to help these people and people in general, because I said that in the self-expression video. I said that most people struggle with this. Self-expression really ties in with self-image as well, and self-esteem. So I would highly recommend for people who find similar problems in their life to watch those videos that I made recently. But specifically to do with self-esteem, there's a few things that I want to talk about today. So firstly, the thing that really helped me, because I had the same problem and I still have in some ways, but certainly learning who you are and being able to express yourself freely and fully, just the way you are, obviously ties into not really worrying about what other people will think. Because if you are who you are and you feel comfortable in that, and you feel powerful enough to express that, then you automatically don't really care for what other people will say or think. Or even if you do care, whatever the outcome of their reaction or their thoughts will be, it doesn't really affect you anymore, because you love yourself enough to just trust that whatever you feel and whatever you want to say and express is the truth. And if somebody doesn't like that, that's their problem, right? And I think a lot of people understand that as a notion, but they still struggle to implement that in their life. And unfortunately or fortunately, the only way you go about that is practice. You just have to keep practicing saying no, as again I've discussed in the video about self-expression. You have to keep practicing learning about yourself, what it is that you feel, what you like, what you don't like, and practicing saying it, vocalizing it. That is the only way you sort of beat that anxiety. Because the reason you're scared of doing it, again, as I said before in other videos, is is because you're scared of the projection of what other people will say or think or how they will react. And the reason we might be scared of it is because it could be the case that in the past we were attacked for that, whether it's physical or emotional or mental, it doesn't really matter, but we were in actual danger as children maybe when we were trying to express ourselves. And so it is a perfectly natural response to be scared to express yourself. But it is the process of relearning that you are safe to do that, because now you are an adult and you can protect yourself, and unless whoever you're encountering is an actual psycho or they are an abuser, you should be safe to express yourself. Obviously, if they start abusing you, if it's a relationship, you have to leave. If it's a family member, don't keep in contact with them, move, do whatever to protect yourself. So it's that process of relearning that you can protect yourself, because now you are an adult. You're not a child that is, can be affected by other people in that way. So it is just practice. And the things that you can practice is, again, the saying no. When you feel something that feels really uncomfortable, it's that practice of moving past that fear. On the other side of fear, there's so much energy, there's so much potential for you behind any fear that you may have in your life. If you are or ever have been into sports, if you're an athlete, then you should really know that when you push past boundaries of your body, past limitations, you expand, you find this new realm of energy and capacity and possibility. And it's exactly the same with fear and anything emotional that you feel is like a boundary or a limitation. It's just we're moving from physical realm and we're moving into more of a mental and consciousness realm. But it's the same principle. Yeah, I highly recommend watching that video that I made, 3 videos that I made on self-expression. Another thing that I want to address, and that is very much a common thing that happens with people who struggle with self-esteem. Therapists and I really like calling as well, that's what they call catastrophizing. I never noticed that I do this until my therapist told me that about a year ago. So catastrophizing is a tendency to blow things up in your mind, making something much bigger than what it actually is, including other people's thoughts, including your own imperfections. Making one tiny mistake that is normally seen by another person, maybe is seen as tiny and it's so insignificant, but for you see it as something so big that it makes you look like a failure, makes you feel like you are just the least worthy person to be alive. All these things, it goes under that umbrella term catastrophizing. So when you're putting something up on a pedestal that shouldn't be there, or you are too self-critical, you see situations as much worse than what they actually are, it's all catastrophizing. And the way you can assess whether you're catastrophizing something or you're not is ask yourself, will this matter in a year from now? Will this matter in a week from now? Will this matter ever? Tomorrow, in an hour, or is it just a temporary thing that I'm putting too much attention to? And the truth is that even things that will matter in a year or whatever, most of the time, even if they matter, we still overreact. So the golden rule is, if you're not sure if you're catastrophizing or not, then you probably are. And even if you're certain that it should be given as much importance as you're giving it, ask yourself further questions. Will a person from the outside think the same way, or is it just me thinking this way? Why do I think it matters so much? If you think that someone's opinion of you matters a lot, why are you putting that person on a pedestal? Why is their opinion of you is so important that it makes you question yourself, and it makes you change who you are? It's all about just like bringing things down to ground level and realizing that nothing really in life is more important than anything else. Because the power of hindsight kind of always tells us that that is the case, right? Think of it this way. When was the time in your life that, when you catastrophized something in that way, you made someone's opinion really important, or you thought of your mistake as super grand when it really wasn't? Any of these things, think of that time in your life. It could be recent, could be anything from the distant past. When was a time when that happened and it was actually true? Chances are, if there were any, there will be very minuscule number of times. So we need to decatastrophize the life, basically, to feel that less anxiety and take people, events and things off a pedestal so that they don't affect us in such a way anymore. When we worry about what other people think of us, it does create that anxiety in the mind. And anxiety usually comes from something that we feel is overwhelming, something that is bigger than us, something that is too important. But when we start seeing things as not quite as important as we think they are, there is no reason for anxiety anymore, because there is no reason to perform or to rush or to do any of the things that make us anxious in the first place. So that the practice of decatastrophizing is really, really helpful. And so how do you do that? It's all about the self-talk, sitting down with yourself and talking to yourself about whatever is happening, whatever is causing you anxiety, asking yourself, am I putting this person on a pedestal? For me, I struggled with that a lot, to do with my family, my mother especially. She was a very strong figure in my life, in a sense of her character. She's got a pretty difficult character. So I had a lot of fear to do with my mother for a lot of my life. And also on top of that, we still want our mothers to love us. And we, when we're born, when we're children, we see our parents as gods, because they give us life, they give us food, they protect us, they are the reason why we're alive. And when we grow up, we don't go through an initiation process of growing up and being taught that now you are your own human being. So we merge with our mothers and our fathers a lot, and when you grow up, it is a process, and it can take months, and it took me years to separate yourself from the parent figure in your life. And when you do that, when you can manage to see yourself and your parents as separate people really deeply, you don't see also other things in life as quite as important anymore, because things stem from each other. So if you can tackle one root of this problem, other things sort of dissipate as well. Other things that you can do is as simple as meditation and grounding. When you start feeling anxious, if you meditate, you then develop the skill to calm your inner state of being down, and again, not see everything as a catastrophe in a way. And when you meditate and when you become inquisitive about yourself, who am I? What do I like? What do I not like? When it comes to other people, you then tend to put your attention not on them. What are they going to think about me? What are they going to say? How is that all going to turn out in the end? You put your attention inward. How do I feel right now? What do I want right now? Why am I feeling this anxiety right now? And when your brain is busy with asking questions about yourself, you simply don't have the time to worry about what other people think or feel or whatever else. because you are focused on yourself. And the problem now might be that you might think that it's selfish. And that is a very big lie that we're taught in our life, that, you know, to think about yourself is selfish. I have something else to tell you. You can't be sad or depressed enough to help depressed people. You can't be poor enough to help poor people. When you make yourself happier, when you ground in yourself, when you become lighter inside, you give other people example of how they can be as well. Think about it from your perspective. When you meet someone who is happy and jolly, and not superficially, but truly happy, and they radiate that from them, does that not make you feel like you can be happy and you want to be happy? And doesn't that just make you feel happy anyway, just seeing someone else being that happy? Usually it does, because it's contagious, you know. And the same happens the opposite way. When you see someone suffer, it is much more difficult to be happy when they suffer. When you are around someone who allows them to be themselves, it makes you feel like you can be yourself as well. Because we think, as human beings, we think, oh, they're being vulnerable around me. That means I have the right to be vulnerable around them too. And you can be that person setting the example for others and setting the example for yourself. And when you start thinking of it in this way, you actually realize that you have the power to not only help yourself, but to help other people. When you are surrounded by other people and you are light and airy and happy, you don't have to pretend to be this way. When you grow this inside state of being to be yourself, you help others be themselves too. But when you pretend to be someone you're not changing your environment in any way. Or maybe if you are, then you're changing it in the opposite direction. Whenever you're authentic, first of all, your self-esteem will grow like that. When you're going to be authentic, when you're going to say what you feel you want to say, your self-esteem will go through the roof. Because you know that I'm standing on my own 2 feet, I'm saying what I want to say, right? And so it is of utter importance to learn that skill of saying no and being authentic. You know, if you suffer from the self-esteem problems, maybe because I know some people who don't have a problem with saying no or, you know, expressing themselves, but they still suffer with self-esteem problems, meaning that they don't think of themselves well enough. Usually it still means that they do care about what other people think. It's inevitable. If you have a self-esteem issue, you will care about what other people think about you. So everything I've already said in this video applies to you still. But on top of that, what I would also suggest is to, again, figure out what it is that you like and what it is that you don't like, and meditate and just practice self-talk over and over and over again. The thing that really helped me, and it is, you know, you don't need to do anything for it, it is just subconscious work that happens in the background. I literally just took a lipstick one night and I wrote on my mirror, on my bathroom mirror, I wrote, "I am enough." It is a practice that Marissa Peer, a psychotherapist, I really love her, she recommended that, and I left it there. And, you know, every day your brain, with your peripheral vision, even if you don't really look at it directly yourself, with your peripheral vision, you will still see it, and subconsciously your brain will repeat that information to itself. I am enough. I am enough. I am enough. And that is one of the biggest self-esteem boosters that I've experienced in my life. Because when we feel like we're not good enough, because what is self-esteem? Feeling like you're not good enough, right? When you feel like you have to be someone else, like you have to perform, like you have to excel, it's all because you feel like you are not enough in one way or another. And the way you undo that is you make yourself believe again that you are enough, because it is innately true. Because what I've realized in my life that, there were some things, for me, it was knowledge that I thought, the smarter I am, the more enough I am. And at some point in my life, I realized that it wasn't true, because when I have a mathematics degree. I could go and do masters, and I could do PhD, and I could be a professor at university, and I could do all the smart things in the world, but the smarter I got, the opinion that I'm still not enough didn't change. Because changing physically something in your life to attain that love and to feel enough, it just doesn't work. The only thing that really helps is feeling for yourself that I am enough. And when that happens, when that transition happens, when you feel like you're enough and that is enough for you, you stop caring about what other people think. Because if you're enough for yourself, if somebody leaves your life, if somebody cusses you because they don't agree with you, if somebody rejects you, you might miss them for a bit, but you don't ultimately care because you are with you, and that's all that matters. So it is that practice of growing that self-love towards yourself that is going to really cure that, and that is the only thing you need for self-esteem. There will be other layers for that, but if you've got this foundation, you kind of know what to do in your life, and you don't look sideways at, what do they think about me, or what should I do with my life. You're just here with you, rooted in who you are, and that is your only compass in life, and it is enough. And in terms of where this problem stems from, just as a quick sort of roundup as well, in my spiritual journey, I've realized that it is somewhat pointless to try and figure out where things came from. I spent years trying to find the root of things, like consciously with my mind. I was trying to remember, where did this stem from? Where did that stem from? And as much as it can give some release to you, it won't help you heal. So, in general, very few things are biological and hereditary. Very few, minuscule amount. More things are from trauma. Trauma doesn't have to mean anything major or serious. Trauma is simply something that your brain didn't process properly. And the rest come from seeing examples from life, so environment basically. And the depending on where your problem came from will determine how long it will take you to heal or how easy the journey will be. But whatever the problem, the root is, it is all changeable. The power of the mind is prevalent. So whatever you put in your mind to, that will be the truth. So if you can keep repeating to yourself every day, I am enough, just stick it somewhere on the wall, on the mirror, a note, I am enough, so that your brain constantly sees that message. You don't have to do anything physically. You don't have to repeat it. If you want to, you can, it will be even better. But just have it visible somewhere in your space all the time. And I promise you, your brain will start believing that. And when your brain believes you're enough, the anxiety and the need to impress other people will dissipate, and the feeling of self-esteem, like I am worth it, whatever it is, I am lovable, I am, I can just be myself. All these aspects, they become bigger and you feel them more. So I hope this was really helpful. It is always sad to learn, when somebody struggles with something. But I've been there myself, and I am coming out of that. I want to say I'm on the other side of it now, but you're never just on the other side and that's it, you're happy for the rest of your life. It's practice for the rest of your life. So if I don't keep repeating to myself and keep reminding myself that I am enough and that I am lovable, and that I love myself, and that I don't need to impress anyone, and I don't need to put anyone on a pedestal, and that I don't need to catastrophize. Unless I repeat these things to myself daily, or on some kind of regular basis, I will slip right back where I was. But the more you do it, the more natural it becomes, and you don't need to consciously think of these things. So for me, naturally, these thoughts come up in my head already, you know. Naturally, I just think I'm worth it, because it's just my nature now, because I turned it into a habit. And you can do the same. So it takes practice, takes a bit of time, but you will get there. And it's just about knowing which tools to use. And I hope that this video provided you with some tools that will help you get on the other side of this spectrum. Thank you so much for watching this. I really hope it was helpful. I really, really do. If you've got any more questions, or you've got specific circumstances or anything at all that you want to discuss with me personally, you know, you might already have my number if you're my friend watching this, or you can find me on social media. Link is down below on Instagram. And leave comments down below, subscribe to see more, like this video if you found this information useful. It would be really useful to me as well. And I will see you in the next one. Please!
Why?
Because it's funny.
No, because I can't now do it, because I was only doing it in a spur of a moment.
Do it spur of a moment. With your smoothie.
No!
You have to practice being a vlogger.
Do I?
Yeah, because we're going to be vloggers in the van.
This is too serious. I'm a shy, quiet boy. I don't know what to talk about. I'm too scared.
Drinking nervously. Come on, people are waiting.
All the fans are waiting.
Talk about your insecurities that are coming up.
Oh, you want to know about my insecurities?
Yeah.
Oh, why didn't you say? There are none. Goodbye.